A young alien girl was sentenced to death by the most powerful court in the galaxy. Nobody thought she would survive. But then, humans did something no one expected. They broke the law. They defied an empire. And they claimed her as one of their own. This is not fiction based on real events. This is an HFY Sci-Fi story, imagined for fans across the USA and UK who love bold, emotional space adventures. But the truth behind this story will shock you. Here are 3 things you are about to discover. First, why the Galactic Court feared humans more than any alien army. Second, the secret reason one human family risked everything for a stranger. And third, the final decision that changed the fate of 2 worlds forever. This story has courtrooms filled with fear. It has soldiers ready to fight. It has one small girl who never asked for any of this. And it has humans who refuse to look away. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Far beyond Earth, in a part of space no human had ever touched, there was a place called the Grand Court of Haveth. It was not a courtroom like the ones on Earth. It was a massive floating structure, built from black metal and glowing blue light. Inside, ancient alien judges decided the fate of entire species. Their word was final. No one questioned them. No one dared. On this day, the court was about to judge a young alien girl. Her name was Myra. She was small, quiet, and scared. She had pale lavender skin and deep blue-violet hair. Her eyes looked like they held galaxies inside them. She did not look dangerous. She did not look like a criminal. But the court did not care about how she looked. They cared about the law. Myra was accused of a crime she did not commit. Her home planet had rebelled against a powerful alien empire. The empire blamed her family. They said her bloodline carried the seed of rebellion. It did not matter that Myra was only a child. It did not matter that she had done nothing wrong. The law of the empire was simple and cruel. If the family is guilty, the child pays too. The judges sat high above her, hidden behind glowing masks. Their voices echoed through the chamber like thunder. They spoke in a language older than most stars. A small drone translated their words into common galactic speech. Mira of Velmara, the lead judge, said, "You are hereby sentenced to execution, in accordance with Imperial Law 118. Your bloodline is marked as a threat to galactic order." The room was silent. Guards in silver armor stood at every corner. No one moved. No one spoke. It seemed like nothing could stop what was about to happen. But far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, something strange was happening. A human diplomat named James Carter was sitting in a small office, watching this exact trial through a secure hologram feed. He was part of a new alliance between Earth and a group of neutral planets. Most humans knew very little about the galaxy. They were new to this part of space. But James Carter knew enough to understand one thing. This was wrong. He watched Myra's small hands shake as the judges spoke. He watched her try to stay strong, even though her whole body trembled with fear. Something inside him could not accept what he was seeing. He thought about his own daughter back home. She was around the same age as Myra. He imagined her standing there, alone, sentenced to die for something she never did. James stood up from his chair. His hands were shaking too, but not from fear, from anger. He turned to his assistant, a young woman named Sarah. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," he said. "Right now." Sarah looked confused. "Sir, we have no authority here." This is not our matter. Earth has no formal position in the Galactic Court. James looked back at the screen. Myra was still standing there, alone, waiting for her fate. Not yet, he said. But we're about to. At that exact moment, something unexpected happened. The court's recording system caught a small flicker of static. For half a second, the feed jumped. It was tiny. Almost no one would notice. But a data analyst on Earth, watching the same feed from a military base, did notice. His name was Daniel Reyes. He was young, sharp, and always looking for details others missed. He rewound the footage and looked again. Something about the signal did not match normal Galactic Court broadcasts. It looked altered. He sat up straighter. If someone had tampered with the trial feed, that meant something bigger was happening behind the scenes. Something the Galactic Court did not want anyone to see. Meanwhile, back in the courtroom, one of the judges raised a clawed hand. "Let the execution proceed," the judge said. Myra closed her eyes. She thought this was the end. But then, something happened that had never happened before in the history of the Galactic Court. A voice came through the chamber speakers. It was not an alien voice. It was human. "This trial is being observed by Earth," the voice said calmly. "We request an immediate pause, under Article 42 of the Neutral Observer Accord." The judges froze. Alien guards looked at each other in confusion. No one from Earth had ever spoken during a Galactic Court trial before. Humans were still considered too new, too small, too unimportant to have a voice here. But now, they did. The judges were not used to being interrupted. For thousands of years, no species had dared to challenge their authority during an active trial. The chamber fell into a heavy silence. Even the guards, tall and armored, turned their heads toward the speakers, waiting for what would happen next. The lead judge's voice came back, sharp and cold. "Identify yourself." James Carter stepped closer to the hologram projector in his office on Earth. His heart was pounding, but his voice stayed steady. "I am James Carter, representative of Earth," he said. "Under the Neutral Observer Accord, any signed member species has the right to request a pause if evidence of tampering is found." The judges exchanged glances. This was true. It was an old rule, rarely used, almost forgotten. But it still existed. And Earth had signed the accord only a few months earlier, as part of a trade agreement with a smaller alien coalition. No one expected humans to actually use it. "What evidence do you have?" the judge asked, clearly annoyed. James turned to Daniel Reyes, who had rushed into the room minutes earlier with his laptop still open. Daniel quickly sent the flickering signal data to the court system. "This," James said. "Your trial feed was altered exactly 12 seconds before sentencing. Someone tampered with the original recording." The room buzzed with tension. Alien officials whispered to each other. The judges studied the data. It was clear, even to them, that something strange had happened to the signal. The lead judge's glowing mask tilted slightly. "Even if this is true, it does not change the verdict. The law is the law." James took a breath. This was the moment. He knew what he had to say next could either help Myra, or make things much worse for both her and Earth. "Then let humanity take responsibility for her," he said. "Give her to Earth as a ward, under Article 42. Let us prove her innocence, or her guilt, through Earth's own investigation. Gasps spread through the chamber. Guards straightened. Even the judges seemed shocked by such a bold request. No one had ever asked to take a condemned prisoner away from the Galactic Court before. "This is unprecedented," one judge said. "So is tampering with a trial," James replied. The judges leaned together, speaking quietly in their ancient language. Time seemed to stretch. Myra stood in the center of the chamber, confused and scared, unsure of what was happening. She did not understand why a stranger from a planet she had never heard of was fighting for her. Finally, the lead judge spoke again. "We will allow a temporary transfer, under strict conditions. Earth will have 30 standard days to present clear evidence of innocence or guilt. If no evidence is found, the sentence will be carried out immediately, and Earth will lose its accord status permanently." James swallowed hard. 30 days. It was not much time, but it was something. "We accept," he said. The guards moved toward Myra. She flinched, expecting to be dragged away. But instead, they simply removed her binding cuffs and gestured toward a small transport pod. "You will go to Earth," one guard said flatly. "Do not resist." Myra looked around the chamber one last time. She did not know what waited for her on this strange new planet. She did not know if these humans could be trusted. But she also knew she had nothing left to lose. She stepped into the pod. Back on Earth, James Carter sat back in his chair, his hands still shaking. Sarah stared at him in disbelief. "Do you understand what you just did?" she asked. "You just took responsibility for an alien girl the entire galaxy believes is dangerous." James nodded slowly. "I know. If we fail, Earth could lose everything we've built with the Accord. Maybe more." James looked at the screen, where Mira's pod was already leaving orbit, heading toward Earth. "I know that too," he said quietly. "But I couldn't let her die for something she didn't do." Daniel, still standing nearby, spoke up. "There's something else you should know." James looked at him. "What is it?" Daniel hesitated. "That signal tampering, it wasn't random. Someone inside the Galactic Court wanted this trial to go quickly. Someone wanted her gone before anyone could ask questions." The room went quiet. "Which means," James said slowly, "someone is hiding something bigger than one girl's crime." Outside the window, the sky was clear and blue. But somewhere far above it, a transport pod was carrying a scared young alien girl toward a planet that had no idea what was about to change. Myra arrived on Earth 3 days later. The transport pod landed at a secured military base outside a quiet countryside town in the United States. Soldiers stood in careful formation, watching the pod with a mix of curiosity and caution. None of them had ever seen a real alien up close before. When the pod door opened, Myra stepped out slowly. Her eyes adjusted to the bright sunlight. She had never seen a sky like this before. It was soft blue, with white clouds drifting lazily across it. On her home planet, the sky had always been a dull orange, covered in smoke from years of war. She looked around at the humans staring at her. They looked strange to her too. Their skin came in many different shades. Their eyes did not glow like hers. They seemed nervous, unsure of how to react. James Carter walked forward, trying to look calm even though his heart was racing. "Welcome to Earth," he said gently. "You're safe here." Myra did not respond right away. She had heard those words before, from people who did not mean them. But something about the way this human spoke felt different. His voice was soft. His eyes did not hide fear or hatred, just concern. Over the next few days, Myra stayed at the base under careful watch. Scientists studied her, not to hurt her, but to understand her biology and confirm she posed no danger. Soldiers guarded the perimeter, unsure if other alien forces might come looking for her. And slowly, quietly, something unexpected began to happen. James's own daughter, a 10-year-old girl named Emily, came to visit the base with her mother one afternoon. She was curious about the alien girl everyone was talking about on the news. When she saw Myra sitting alone in a small room, staring out the window, Emily did something no adult expected. She walked right up to her and sat down beside her. "Hi," Emily said simply. "I'm Emily." Myra looked at her, surprised. No one on the base had spoken to her so casually before. Everyone else treated her like a mystery to study, or a threat to monitor. "I'm Myra," she replied quietly. Emily smiled. "Do you like drawing?" she asked, pulling out a small notebook and crayons. Myra had never held a crayon before. On her planet, art had been forbidden during the war. Slowly, hesitantly, she took one and began to draw. It was simple, just a few lines forming a star and a small circle beside it. But it was the first thing she had created freely in a very long time. From that day on, Emily visited often. She taught Myra simple English words. She showed her pictures of animals, food, and places on Earth. Myra began to smile more, even laugh once or twice. For the first time since her arrest, she felt something close to safety. Meanwhile, Daniel Reyes continued digging into the tampered signal from the trial. He worked late nights, cross-referencing old Galactic court records that Earth had access to through the Accord. What he found was troubling. Mira's home planet, Vilmara, had not actually rebelled on its own. Records showed unusual activity from a powerful mining company that operated deep within Vilmara's territory. This company had strong ties to members of the Galactic Court itself. If Vilmara's people were removed or silenced, this company could take full control of the planet's valuable resources. Daniel brought his findings to James immediately. "This isn't about justice," Daniel said. "This is about greed." Mira's family was blamed to cover up something much bigger. James felt a chill run through him. If this is true, then the entire trial was designed to fail from the start. "Exactly," Daniel said. "And if we can prove it, we don't just save Mira. We expose corruption inside the highest court in the galaxy." James looked out the window, where he could see Mira and Emily sitting together under a large oak tree, laughing over a drawing. For a moment, everything felt calm, but he knew that peace could not last long. Somewhere out in the stars, the company responsible for framing Vilmara was watching Earth closely. They knew about the tampered evidence. They knew Daniel was investigating. And they were not going to let a group of humans destroy everything they had built. Time was running out. Only 22 days remained before the court's deadline, and the real enemy had not even shown itself yet. Back on Vilmara, a private security fleet aligned with the mining company began preparing for a mission that was never officially recorded. Their leader, a cold and calculating alien commander named Threx, received orders directly from the company's hidden council. The girl must not testify. The message read, "Eliminate the threat before Earth uncovers the truth." Threx understood exactly what this meant. Myra was no longer just a prisoner. She was a witness who could destroy everything the company had built through years of manipulation and war. Threx assembled a small strike team, disguised as an independent bounty group, to avoid drawing attention from the Galactic Court. Their mission was simple: travel to Earth, capture or eliminate Myra, and erase any evidence connecting the company to Velmara's destruction. Back on Earth, Daniel continued gathering proof. He worked with a small team of intelligence officers, carefully cross-checking old shipping records, resource extraction reports, and communication logs. Slowly, a clear picture began to form. The mining company had been secretly extracting rare energy crystals from Velmara for over a decade, using local labor under harsh and unfair conditions. When Velmara's people began resisting, protests turned into what the Empire called a rebellion. But it was never truly the people's fault. It was retaliation against greedy outsiders. James contacted Galactic Court officials directly, hoping to arrange a proper hearing with this new evidence. But before he received a response, warning signs began to appear. Communication satellites monitoring Earth's orbit detected unregistered ships approaching from deep space, moving with unusual speed and stealth technology. "They're coming for her," Daniel said, staring at the radar screen. James immediately ordered increased security around the base where Myra was staying. Soldiers were placed at every entrance. Advanced Earth defense systems, still new and untested against alien technology, were activated for the first time in history. That night, Threx's ships entered Earth's atmosphere undetected by civilian radar, using advanced stealth cloaking. They landed several miles from the base, deploying a small strike team on foot to avoid detection. Their mission was clear: move quickly, capture the girl, leave no trace. Inside the base, Myra was sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. Emily had given her a small stuffed animal earlier that day, something she now held tightly as she slept. She had no idea danger was approaching. Around midnight, base security systems detected movement near the outer perimeter. Alarms triggered silently, alerting soldiers without waking the entire facility. James was called immediately, along with military commanders overseeing base defense. Multiple unidentified targets approaching from the East Tree Line, soldier reported. Non-human heat signatures confirmed. James felt his stomach drop. They found her already. Soldiers quickly moved into defensive positions. Myra was woken gently and moved to a secure underground shelter beneath the base, escorted by 2 guards and Sarah, who refused to leave her side. Outside, Threx's strike team moved through the darkness with terrifying precision. Their armor allowed them to blend into shadows, making them almost invisible to normal human eyes. But Earth's newly upgraded thermal sensors, installed just weeks earlier after Daniel's warning, picked up their heat signatures clearly. A short, intense confrontation broke out near the base's outer wall. Human soldiers, though far less experienced with alien combat, fought with everything they had. Blaster fire lit up the night sky. Threx himself pushed forward, determined to complete his mission no matter the cost. Inside the underground shelter, Mira held Emily's stuffed animal tightly, tears filling her eyes. She could hear distant explosions above her. She understood exactly why they had come. "They want to kill me to hide the truth," she whispered to Sarah. Sarah held her hand firmly, Not while we're here. Above ground, just as Threx's team pushed closer to breaching the shelter's entrance, unexpected reinforcements arrived. A small allied alien coalition, informed earlier by James through diplomatic channels, sent a rescue team of their own, honoring an old trade agreement with Earth. Their arrival turned the tide of the battle instantly. Realizing the mission had failed, Threx ordered a retreat, vanishing back into his ship before Earth's forces could capture him. But he left something behind. A damaged communicator, still holding partial data, linking him directly to the mining company's hidden council. As dawn broke over the base, Daniel held the recovered device carefully. "This is it," he said. "This is the proof we need." The next morning, Earth requested an emergency session with the Galactic Court, presenting Daniel's findings alongside the recovered communicator from the failed attack. For the first time, humanity stood before the same judges who had once sentenced Myra to death, not as outsiders, but as investigators presenting solid evidence. The Grand Court of Haveth was tense. Alien officials from multiple systems watched closely, aware that something historic was about to unfold. The mining company's hidden council, unaware their plan had failed, had no idea their secret was about to be exposed in front of the entire galaxy. James stood at the center of the chamber, Myra standing quietly beside him. This time, she did not look afraid. She stood tall, wearing simple clothing given to her by Emily's family, holding onto a small piece of courage she had found on Earth. Presented before this court, James began, is clear evidence that the rebellion on Velmara was manufactured by outside interests seeking control of the planet's resources. Mira of Velmara was never guilty. She was a scapegoat, used to hide a much larger crime. Daniel played the recovered communicator's data for the judges, revealing direct orders from the mining company's council to eliminate Mira before she could testify. Gasps spread through the chamber. Even some judges appeared visibly shaken by the revelation. The lead judge studied the evidence carefully, his glowing mask tilted downward in thought. After a long, heavy silence, he spoke. "This court failed in its duty to seek true justice," he said slowly. "The evidence presented is undeniable." Turning toward Myra, his tone softened slightly. "Mira of Velmara, all charges against you and your family are hereby dismissed. Full investigation into the mining company's activities will begin immediately." The chamber erupted into murmurs of shock and disbelief. Never before had the Galactic Court reversed a decision so publicly, and never before had a species as new as humanity played such crucial role in exposing corruption at the highest level. Myra felt tears fill her eyes, but this time, they were tears of relief. She turned to James and Emily, who had insisted on being present for the final hearing. "Thank you," Myra whispered. "You didn't have to do this for me." James smiled gently. "Yes, we did." With the case closed, the court granted Myra permanent asylum, allowing her to remain on Earth under humanity's protection, an unprecedented decision that strengthened Earth's position within the Galactic Accord. What began as a simple courtroom observation had turned into a moment that reshaped Earth's reputation across the stars. News of the trial spread quickly throughout allied systems. Other species, once doubtful of humanity's influence, began to see Earth differently. Not as weak or unimportant, but as a planet willing to stand for justice, even against overwhelming odds. Myra eventually settled into life on Earth, forming a close bond with Emily's family. She learned about human culture, laughed at simple jokes, and slowly began to heal from the trauma of her past. She often visited the same oak tree where she first felt safe, now carrying not fear, but hope for her future. Months later, a surprising discovery emerged from the ongoing investigation into the mining company. Records revealed that the very judge who had first sentenced Mira had unknowingly signed off on falsified evidence years earlier. Evidence originally created to hide the company's illegal activities long before Mira was ever born. This meant Mira's case was not an isolated incident. It was the tip of a much larger pattern, one that could uncover corruption stretching across multiple planets and possibly implicate more members of the Galactic Court itself. For Mira, this revelation was bittersweet. It confirmed she was truly innocent, but it also meant countless others before her may have suffered the same injustice, without an Earth to stand up for them. This story began with one girl condemned by an empire. It ends with a single act of courage that exposed corruption reaching further than anyone imagined. Earth broke the rules to save one life, but in doing so, may have opened the door to justice for entire worlds. The investigation continues, and somewhere out there, more truths are waiting to be uncovered. If this opened your eyes, let's remember what this story really showed us. One brave decision can change everything. Corruption often hides behind power. And sometimes, the smallest voice, one scared young girl, can expose the biggest secrets in the galaxy. If you enjoyed this HFY Sci-Fi story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories where humanity proves its strength through courage, compassion, and justice. For those who want deeper stories like this one delivered straight to your inbox, check the link in the description to join our newsletter, where we share exclusive HFY story previews before they go public. Now I want to hear from you. If you were in James Carter's position, would you have broken the rules to save Mira, even knowing the risk to Earth? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching until the end. More stories like this are coming soon.